Welcome, everybody. Hello, nice to see you all, and welcome to everybody out there on Facebook Live. Glad you joined us today, and hello to everybody in this room. We are so super excited to see you, and so glad that you've joined us for another day of the Daily Antidote of Song. As most of you know, we are approaching day 365 next week of singing one song every day in this room together, building community, having some discussion, and this week we are having our third Archive Challenge Partnership Week with the Library of Congress American Folklife Center, courtesy of Steve Winnick and Jennifer Cutting of the Folklife Center. And we'll chat more with them in just a minute, along with our guests, Flynn Cohen and Liz Simmons, who are here from Low Lily. And I want to first say hello to everybody besides the folks out on Facebook Live, including Kevin, who we're wishing well. I also want to say hi to Karen in Arizona, Becky in Vancouver, Sarah in Texas, Deborah in Kentucky, Susan in Ohio, Doug in Vermont, Sheila in Florida, Carolyn in Idaho, Dan in Virginia, hello Jane in Pennsylvania, Dennis from the Ubuntu Choirs Network, I'm coming in from Vancouver, hello Gay, hello Arlene in California, Aloysius in Mass, hello Betsy, Washington Rebels, good to see you today, Carol Beth, hello, Birdie, hello, Bonnie in Idaho, Deli in Maryland, hello Lisa in Indiana, hello Kim, nice to see you today, Annette in California, Sue, also California, Rick Pagliari and Mariana. Rick is one of our regular song leaders. Glad to have you here today, coming in from Vermont. Susan in Seattle. Hello, Kay Galloway. Hello, Ann and Brian. Hello, Janet in Georgia. Hello, Jim in New York. Christiana and Bob and Gary and Barb. Hello, Ann in Minnesota. Hello, Julie, Sandy in the Yukon. Hello, John in Long Island, and Shane and Elwin and Leah. Hello, nice to see you guys coming in again. We're glad you're back. Renata from Wisconsin, Julie in Ontario, Fred in Maryland from the DC Labor Chorus. Hello, Martha in Oregon, Storm and Dion both from Mass. Sarah, hello, Isabel from Florida, Lynn in Connecticut, and lots of folks still not on video, Luda and Isabel, Suzanne, Elizabeth, Cynthia, Heidi, Beryl, Catherine, Siobhan, Beverly, and lots more folks still popping into the room. So glad you've all joined us today. Always fun to sing with 86 of my favorite people in the entire world. Everybody take a deep breath, please. That's just an excuse so I can take a deep breath. Thanks, gang. I'm so happy to see you all. Steve and Jen, as you guys all know from their many appearances in our room, are two of our most favorite people in the entire planet. Coming in from the American Folklife Center, Steve Winnick is a ethnomusicologist. Jen is a folklorist. Did I get that backwards?
Yeah, that's backwards. Okay though.
Flip what I just said exactly the other way.
How dare you?
I got it right yesterday. I am so happy to be here, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Thanks, guys.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jennifer Cutting, as Joe said, and this is my trusty colleague, Stephen Winnick, and we are both called Folklife Specialists at the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress. So welcome to the second day of our Archive Challenge Partnership. This is the third week we've done it on the Daily Antidote of Song. Thanks for coming back. Those of you who are joining us for the first time, we hope you enjoy it. Steve and I have the great privilege of working in the largest archive of ethnographic materials in the US and one of the largest in the world. And sometimes it feels like just working in a big folk candy store. Because we're both musicians also, and we love to learn great songs and tunes, and we work in a massive archive full of them. So we had this idea of inviting artists to research our collections to find a song or a tune that really floats their boat, really inspires them, and then to add a bit of themselves to it, because that's the folk process. Continuity of the old and variation, introducing something new. So, and we called it the Archive Challenge. And we've been doing these archive challenges since 2015, both at the Library of Congress and at folk music conferences, and now during the pandemic from home, and more on that later.
So I guess we met Flynn Cohen years ago when he came to play with a band on the Coolidge Auditorium stage at the Library of Congress, and we met Liz a couple of years after that. And then in 2019, they performed at the Folk Alliance Conference in Montreal, a great version of Hangman from our Anne and Frank Warner collection in the Archive Challenge Showcase there. And they are members of the group Low Lily. And I think they're still in Brattleboro, is that right? Brattleboro, Vermont. They performed throughout North America and the UK. They've garnered 2 #1 songs on international folk radio and 2 New England Music Award nominations. They're chosen as Falcon Ridge Folk Festival's Most Wanted Band of 2016. And they are a great band for performing both traditional songs and original songs that are deeply rooted in tradition with a very contemporary sound. So we will let them tell you what song they chose from our archive. I will say that we're very lucky that it's associated with one of Joe Rossi's favorite photos from the American Folklife Center archive, which we'll show you after the song as well. So we're going to turn it over now to the members of Low Lily, Liz Simmons and Flynn Cohen.
Thanks for having us, guys. Great to see you again, even if it's on screen.
Right.
So with a little help from Jen, we decided to do a song called Waterbound. It has a few different names, Stay All Night, and what are the other names for the song? Down in North Carolina. And the thing to listen for if you're planning on singing along, which I imagine most of you are, is that we are going to use one of the verses as a chorus. This is not the first time this has been done. I've heard bluegrass and old-time bands do this over the years. Heard a lot of different versions of it, and that's one thing that gets done when people want to harmonize, especially. And so Liz will be singing a harmony to me on the choruses, which is Waterbound and I Can't Go Home 3 times, and then Way Down in North Carolina. And also the words to each sort of strophe or verse is the first line is repeated 3 times, so it's like A B kind of thing. So you'll be able to find as we go, sort of instinctively jump on the verses as well. All right, is that enough intro? Here we go. Chickens crowing in the old plow field, chickens crowing in the old plow field, chickens crowing in the old plow field way down in North Carolina. Waterbound and I can't go home, waterbound and I can't go home, waterbound and I can't go home way down in North Carolina. Charlie, let's go home. Again, Charlie, let's go home. Again, Charlie, let's go home before the water rises. Waterbound and I can't go home. Waterbound and I can't go home. Waterbound and I can't go home way down in North Carolina. So I get his daughter. If you don't give her up, I'm gonna run away. If you don't give her up, I'm gonna run away. If you don't give her up, I'm gonna run away and go to North Carolina. Waterbound and I can't get home. Waterbound and I can't get home. Waterbound and I can't get home way down in North Carolina. Waterbound and I can't get home. Waterbound and I can't get home. Waterbound and I can't get home way down in North Carolina.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was a great version.
Thank you.
I really loved how you had that drone on the 5th scale degree going throughout to give it a ground and your signature low lily harmonies there. And Flynn, what fantastic guitar work. Beautiful lead guitar and the breaks.
There's been a lot of practicing in the last year.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
wow. It's really paid off. So when I suggested this song, I have to give full credit to Kathy Fink, who was going to do this song in the Archive Challenge and decided to do another song, which is why it came to mind when you guys were looking for a song. I thought with these harmonies, it would sound good on you. And boy, it certainly does. What is it that you like about this song?
Wow. Well, Liz, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I love the old time tradition, and I love these types of songs that, you know, are simple so that there's a lot you can do with them. And even, you know, even like little subtle changes in the harmony can just bring it to life. So yeah, I mean, I love traditional music. So obviously this jumps right out at me.
Yeah, well, that's very clear. Did you want to ask them anything, Steve?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we sort of love about this recording, as I mentioned, was just the Bog Trotters and their whole sort of aesthetic. So, how did you go about adapting that sort of large old time band sound to what you guys do?
As a duo.
Yeah, good question. So when we play in our band, Lissa Schneckenberger, who's our fiddle player and also singer, brings a lot, obviously, to the arrangement with what she does. And then we have 3-part vocal harmony on most songs that we sing,
Right.
Aside from the instrumental music that we do. So, and then her husband Corey DeMario plays bass with us a lot as well and plays on our records. So when we perform with the full version of our band, the festival version with the bass and everything, obviously it's a big sound and we don't have to really think about that at all. There's so much firepower, but because we've been doing a little more duo stuff here and playing music from Liz's new record, just the two of us, everything gets scaled down, and so we're certainly used to doing that and figuring out which bits of the arrangement need to stay when we're scaling down an existing arrangement. So I guess that's sort of what we bring to listening to that. So basically what happened with this one is that I took the recording and sort of transcribed the lyrics and made sense of the melody. I mean, I kind of knew it already, you know, from the bluegrass and old time ether. And Liz was familiar with the song too. And so I sort of came up with a basic version of it. We played it together and then did our own arrangement shtick that we do. And it's not necessarily a formula, but there are certain things that are...
There are conventions, right? Exactly. There are...
But also, like, they're always... I love those little moments when you're working on a new song where there's these little serendipitous, like, moments. So when he was playing it and he was like, you know, I have a guitar part all worked out. Let's do some harmonies. And then I was sitting here and I was like... should I play the Shruti box?
Yeah, he was literally sitting on the floor next to
it. And I was like, let's try it. And then he's like, oh, well, I don't have the root, but let's try the fifth. So it was just like one of those real serendipity kind of set, like.
Wow, it turned out great.
Yeah, I don't have a fully chromatic Shruti box, unfortunately. But that actually is something I've done with it too. Like I recorded something using it recently and it was in D and it was in G and the Shruti box is in D, and so all I had was the fifth to work with, and so it necessity and all that. But
and it sounds awesome.
Yeah,
I think.
happy accidents or whatever.
Yeah, it did sound awesome. That is definitely in the column of what Low Lily added to this song.
Cool.
It is unique. That is really cool. Well, here's a bit of trivia. Pete Seeger was, he's always mentioned as our archive's first intern. He was along on this recording trip when this Bog Trotters song was recorded. He was hanging out with young Alan Lomax, Bess Lomax was there. They all went as a group, and I'm sure they had an amazing time. And speaking of your fantastic guitar work, Flynn, Fields Ward won Best Guitar at the 1935 Galax Old Fiddlers Convention. So
Wow.
you're in a good chain of continuity there. Today you've
That's
won
dope.
best guitar in my book.
So Fields was the one who sang lead on the recording there, right?
I think that is right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot of their lead vocals. Yep.
It was hard to tell because I was piecing together information from Wikipedia and from the stuff that I found on your archive, and then also like whatever is it Mudcat still, or one of those other
Mudcat,
Yeah, Mudcat.
Digital Tradition. Yeah.
And one of the things that can be confusing is that Wade Ward also became quite well known,
Right.
and Smithsonian Folkways released an album of I guess it was Roscoe Holcomb and Wade Ward,
Mhm.
and they put this track on as one of Wade Ward's songs. So people sometimes think that Wade was doing the lead vocal there, but I
Right.
think he was just doing the banjo. So
Right.
Yeah,
that's
we think it's Field singing.
Yeah.
Would everybody be interested in hearing the original Field recording that Liz and Flynn were inspired by?
yeah, we brought that along.
We brought that along, so
And whenever we have our original field recordings, Figgy the archive cat comes along to listen as well.
I was
So he's
hearing
here.
that.
With us.
That's great.
Once again thrown an old fine field, again thrown an old fine field, again thrown an old fine field way down in North Carolina. Once again, Charlie, let's go home. Again, Charlie, let's go home. Again, Charlie, let's go home before the water rises. Oh, waterbound, let me go home. Waterbound, let me go home. Waterbound, let me go home way down in North Carolina. Let's again thrown an old fine field, again thrown an old fine field, again thrown an old fine field way down in North Carolina. The old man, I don't care. The old man, I don't care. The old man, I don't care. That's the way I get his daughter. Don't give her up, we're gonna run away. Don't give her up, we're gonna run away. We're gonna run away and go to North Carolina.
So the other thing that's kind of neat about this field trip was that because it was an old time fiddlers convention and it was kind of an event that was well publicized, some professional photographers showed up from CBS and from other news organizations that were covering it. And the Library of Congress actually managed to snag some really good photos of the Bog Trotters, among others. So we have an old photo of the Bog Trotters from 1937 from this exact field trip. Although the photos were not taken by the Library of Congress, we now have them. If we could take a look at one of those, that would be great. Yeah, so that is the Bog Trotters, and you can see Fields Ward there in the back when we mentioned on the guitar, and you can see Wade Ward on the banjo, and it was mostly a family band, although Doc Davis on the auto harp I think was not a Ward, but
Right.
otherwise they're
He's an
Wards,
adopted Ward.
Crockett Ward, Fields Ward, Wade Ward. So that's the Bog Trotters band. And then I also mentioned that this is associated with one of Joe Rossi's favorite photos from the archive. Little known fact, Joe Rossi worked for us for for many years and was actually working at the American Folklife Center when I joined the staff there. And she was in charge of putting together a lot of kind of exhibits and promotional campaigns and things. And so she used a lot of our photos. And one of her favorites was this photo of Alan Lomax with Wade Ward. This was 22 years after that field trip. So they had known each other for a long time by this time. And you can see that Wade is listening back to some of Alan's recordings of him and smiling. You know, he's happy with what he hears, apparently. So that's just some of the materials that we find in an archive, sometimes associated with the recordings. And it's kind of nice to have that kind of whole picture of these communities, and you can actually see the folks and get a sort of a greater understanding of
And often we
their
have
music.
Correspondence as well.
That's right,
between
yeah.
a lot of these people and the Lomaxes or whoever the collectors. They were revealing very personal things about them. And, you know, when you take the correspondence and the manuscripts and the photos and the field recording, you get a really well-rounded picture of the zeitgeist of the time.
Yeah. So we want to get a well-rounded picture of Flynn and Liz and Lo Lily. So why don't you tell us about your band and some of your upcoming projects?
Should I tell them about your record? So one of the most modest people I've ever worked with is my wife Liz here. She really is, even though she knows how to do publicity, she really is not self-promoting as such. So I'll tell you about this incredible new record she made called Poets. So Liz has been singing traditional music since she was a toddler, but this new album features a lot of her original songs, many of which sound like they could be, well, very trad in some ways, but not actually trad. You can definitely tell that there's something new about them. And then she's covered some other songs from a few different traditions, including sort of post-trad folk like Sandy Denny, for example.
We're fans.
And Dirk Powell, especially, those two. And the other ones are...
The Supremes.
Yeah, Supremes. And then who else do you do on there? There's one more cover, right?
Yeah, Joni Mitchell.
Oh, Joni Mitchell. Yeah, there we go.
That's a wide net, and I can't wait to
Very
hear
wide.
that
Sounds great.
variety of songs all living together.
Yeah.
Right.
So that album launched 2 weeks ago.
Wow, congratulations,
Thank
Liz.
you. Thanks so much.
So keep an eye out for Poets, and Liz has her own website for her solo work, lizsimmons.net.
Okay,
Excellent.
lizsimmons.net.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what else do you want to tell them about the band?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty big news, and that took a lot of psychic and other kinds of energy to get that born, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was delayed by a full year actually because of
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild. But it's really interesting to create an album during a pandemic because there are actually elements in the music that wouldn't be there otherwise because we were doing it virtually. And so I chose musicians for different reasons and stuff like that. So yeah, but I'm really happy with the way it turned out and all the people we managed to get involved, which is great.
Great.
Excellent.
Are you doing virtual concerts in support of the release that are coming up that people might want to know about?
Well, we did one already in late February through Passim, and that was really fun. And none at the moment, but people should stay tuned because I'm looking at maybe doing a couple more. And then we do have an upcoming. The other big news is Flynn's 50th birthday is on the horizon. You might think he looks 35, but he's actually about to turn.
He definitely looks 35.
And
wow.
He's grown a beard to try to look a little more his age. But...
it was to keep myself warm because I don't have any hair up here.
So Flynn turns 50 on tax day on April 15th. And to celebrate, he's doing an online Club Passim show, which I will be a part of and which he's getting also the great Joe Walsh, mandolin player involved with
Wow.
also John Whelan, the accordion.
Oh,
Oh, great.
wonderful.
So that's going to be really fun. So definitely tune in for that.
What a 50th birthday blowout. That's
That
fantastic.
sounds great. Yeah, amazing.
Great way to turn 50.
I booked the show before lockdown started, so
Uh-huh.
I had every intention of it just being a normal uh, live gig. And my mom lives a couple miles away from Passim, so she'd be able to go there easily.
Uh-huh.
And I have a lot of other family in Boston and a ton of friends because I lived a lot of my adult life there and nearby, and so it's a real community. And I also played at Club Passim. Like I can't even count how many times I played there. So many dozens of times, and so it just seemed like the perfect thing. But so it goes. Everything has been changed
Upended.
for everybody this year.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So what else with the Low Lily? Oh, Low Lily, check it out. This may or may not be apropos to your crowd today, but one of the things that I've been doing for our band since we haven't been performing is I've been sort of putting, designing and marketing merchandise for us.
Uh-huh.
One of the latest things, the thing that is related to the old time scene, is that we get some new artwork from Sam Bartlett of Stuntology fame.
Uh-huh.
From Bloomington, Indiana, great mandolin and banjo player who many people would know from the dance community. And he did a t-shirt design for us, and he also did a skateboard deck design.
Wow.
Cool.
And the skateboards went into production yesterday out in California, of course, where all skateboard stuff is made. And so that is one of the latest bits of news from Low Lily, is that we will have Low Lily skateboards for your kids and grandkids.
And we will make sure to take a nice video of Flynn playing old-time guitar, skating down the road here in Brattleboro, Vermont.
Oh, geez.
Wow, that's going to be something.
I'm not going to
Actually,
bring
our daily Antidote crowd, they will surprise you. They will probably, some of them get on a skateboard themselves.
That's
I
right,
won't
that's right.
myself, but
Glad to hear that.
I'd be a bit of a disaster, but that sounds really cool and that's novel. And you never know, other people might start copying your idea. So
Yeah.
It's pretty normal in more popular music circles.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Popular, I mean, not necessarily what we would call pop music, but like more like rock related stuff, punk,
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
metal. A lot of
Well,
those
very cool to
skate-
borrow from their ideas
Yeah, we can
because
borrow from them.
yeah, let's face it, it's all about borrowing and refining and making it your own, which is what the Archive Challenge is.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
culture
wonder
right there.
if Joe, are we ready to take it out with a reprise of Waterbound?
So thank you for asking. We actually have a couple of questions that have come up out of the room, but I want to
Sure.
say a
Okay.
few things also. So I want to just let Flynn and Liz know that, in fact, Sam Bartlett has been in this room with us, with
Right.
Abby Layden, and they have performed in here, a total blast. And absolutely, you can't judge a crowd by the fact that you might look like we're all just a bunch of old ladies. There are skateboarders in here. There are punkers in here. We've had lots of the folk musicians who've come who have like side gigs in other types of music, including punk and other great stuff. So, so 3 cheers to all the open-minded, amazing folks in this room. And I want pictures of any of you who end up riding one of those skateboards down a hill with an instrument or not.
Maybe folk music is the side gig, though. It's hard to tell sometimes.
Very good. So also I want to bring up out of the box 2 questions. One, actually, speaking of the box, there's questions about the box. So can you show us the Shruti box and maybe just tell us a little bit more about it? There are folks who would like to hear.
So you better talk about this. This is your realm.
Okay, so I found out about the Shruti box when I was in graduate school in California, where Indian classical music is much more mainstream, I suppose. I don't know. It's hard to say what's mainstream out there, but in the Bay Area, there was a classical music, Indian classical music academy in Marin County, and several of my friends studied there. And so I ended up writing music for sitar and tabla, and that's where I first heard about the Shruti box. And basically, it's used for practice in North Indian classical music. So, for example, they have their own version of solfege called sargam, and so they might use a drone like this to practice doing their technique singing. So it's basically just has reeds in it, right? And you pump it like you would a harmonium, and then you might sing sa re ga ma pa da ni sa, etc. So that's the Shruti box. That particular chord Liz was using is just two notes an octave apart that were the fifth, as Jen mentioned, the fifth of the key that we were playing our song in. But it can play a full 4-part triad plus octave in a few different chords chromatically next to each other. So there you go.
And I would mention that the Shruti box is popular in some Celtic music circles too.
Yeah.
Because it's fantastic at simulating the drone of the Great Highland Pipes, which is a root and fifth and an octave above, and also the fiddle drones, anything that drones at a fifth apart. So it's greatly beloved in Celtic music as well. Our fiddler in my Ocean Celtic Quartet uses the Shruti box to sing to.
Also, I've even seen some Irish musicians with very prehensile toes play the Shruti box with their feet while singing or doing other things with their hands. So, yeah,
now that's a great novelty. Okay, there's something for you to work on, Liz.
Yeah.
Shruti box with your toes.
That's right.
And one of our creative folks in the room just popped into the chat. It's a bagpipe in a box, which I think is a pretty good, I like that a lot. So the other question that came up out of the room, and I'm not sure if this is for Steve and Jen or for Flynn and Liz or both, a little more of the history of the words or the origins of the words and of the song. Anybody have anything more on that? Waterbound and I Can't Get Home. Does anybody know?
I actually wanted to say something about that, and our other folklorists may have more to say on it. But the one thing that has stood out to me with songs like this and this song in particular is that it has like two kind of disparate narratives. And the two are like the sort of natural disaster aspect of it, the water rising, and we're sort of like stuck here. And the other is the eloping or wanting to elope with the girlfriend, and so that's pretty much it.
It happens a lot in traditional music where it's actually like two songs in one. We found that a lot, and this one is reminding me of many others like that for that reason.
Yeah. So anyone else have more to add to this one? That was the only thing I wanted to add.
Well, I mean,
talk about floating.
Yeah, from my perspective, I would mention that a lot of American fiddle tunes tend to gather floating verses that are not necessarily closely related to each other. So you get some of the same verses in other songs, including the Old Man's Daughter incident. So that can float from song to song, and as Flynn and Liz say, it's not necessarily very closely related to the fact that there's a flood going on and that these people can't get home. And I actually don't know whether it's connected to any actual historical incident of flood, because there are various folk songs and ballads in which floods occur, flooding rivers occur, preventing people from getting home. And so it could be an allusion to a previous traditional song. But it could also just have been referring to a time when the creek rose and they couldn't get home. It's hard to know exactly.
Or it could just be a metaphor for the human condition.
Right.
So it goes, especially during a pandemic.
Yes, exactly. Did we have any more questions from the chat?
I think we covered the questions in the chat. Thank you so much to Steve and Jen for all of that. And thank you so much to Flynn and Liz. Great discussion today. And certainly I would say, Flynn and Liz, we talked about the fact that we usually play the song or a little piece of it again at the end. And that I would be delighted if you just play the whole darn thing again, because it was a lot of
Me
fun.
too.
Pretty short.
It's a pretty short song.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Okay, I think I'm gonna step out a little bit and improvise a little more on my guitar solos, if you guys don't mind.
Let her rip.
And feel free to do the same on the shruti box, babe.
Okay, I'll get really virtuosic on the shruti.
To waver a
With
little.
your toes.
Chickens crowing in the old plow field. Chickens crowing in the old plow field. Chickens crowing in the old plow field way down in North Carolina. Waterbound and I can't go home. Waterbound and I can't go home. Waterbound and I can't go home way down in North Carolina. Nick and Charlie, let's go home. Nick and Charlie, let's go home. Nick and Charlie, let's go home. For the water rises. Waterbound and I can't get home. Waterbound and I can't go home. Waterbound and I can't go home way down in North Carolina. Old man's mad and I don't care. Old man's mad and I don't care. Old man's mad and I don't care. Just so I get his daughter. If he don't give her up, I'm gonna run away. If he don't give her up, I'm gonna run away. If he don't give her up, I'm gonna run away and go to North Carolina. Waterbound and I can't go home. Waterbound and I can't go home. Waterbound and I can't go home way down in North Carolina. Waterbound and I can't go home. Waterbound and I can't go home. Waterbound and I can't go home way down in North Carolina.
Woo!
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thank
Flynn
you.
Thank you
Cohen,
so much.
Flynn Cohen and Liz Simmons, who together make up Low Lily. Thank you so
Woohoo!
much.
Or 2/3 of Low Lily. as
Two-thirds
the
of
kids
Low
Two-thirds
say.
of Low Lily.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, gang. That was really, really super great to have you. And so there are links in the chat for their websites, for the websites of the side projects that they work on. I think Liz teaches voice and Flynn teaches guitar. There's links in there for finding them for that. And of course, for the Club Passim concert. And speaking of birthdays, I want to remind everybody that at our community sing on March 21, which is coming up right around the corner, we will be celebrating all of the March birthdays of anybody who wants to join in the room. You can send your photo to birthdays@carpediemarts.org and be in our birthday video at the community sing. And we will sing happy birthday to all of you expressly. So Flynn, we hope to see you in April for your birthday at our community sing. We'll put a little crown on your head in the picture. It's very cute. Okay, thank you again to Flynn and to Lynn, to Steve and to Jen, to the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress, to everybody here in the Daily Antidote. Another shout out on Facebook Live to Kevin Ennis in his hospital room. We are thinking about you, Kevin, and we can't wait till you're back in this room with us. And thank you and goodbye to everybody on Facebook Live. And can't wait to see you tomorrow for another Archive Challenge Day.